kasih lah ya, ada kali. Terima kasih.
National institutions, in my view, are a very necessary supplement to judicial mechanisms, and in a number of countries the courts don't protect human rights in many cases for a whole variety of reasons. But national institutions have a role because they are accessible and they don't charge fees.
When we take a case, we go up to the Chief Justice, up to the President, and if not, we go publicly in the media. Although I have to say that the culture of impunity really continues in Afghanistan. I mean, I would say that maybe 50% of the cases we are able to solve somehow with our pressure.
I mean, the situation for human rights defenders in many Asian countries is problematic and worsening. There is a worsening trend of the use of laws to restrict and criminalise the work of human rights defenders. And I think there's a range of things that NHRIs can do to support human rights defenders. Firstly, they can advocate for a safe and enabling environment for the work of human rights defenders. And NHRIs have a role to play in terms of public education, in speaking out strongly in support of human rights defenders. Certainly we would encourage all national human rights institutions to establish human rights defender protection desks or focal points.
In the south, in a mining area there where there have been some killings already, and there's this big mining company that's here, we have been able to have engagements, conversation with the military and the police, and have been able to convince them to step down the work that they've been doing there, to withdraw in order to give more space to the indigenous peoples who are scared of them.
Anything short of due process of law is not going to be acceptable to the Commission. So we have been categorically rejecting all kinds of, quote unquote, the extrajudicial killings or the encounters, or the gunfights, however the law enforcing agencies might call them. Once we receive the investigation report, then the Commission decides that whether the report is acceptable or not to the Commission. But when we have questions and doubts, then we reject that report and we say that it's not acceptable to us. So we go for reinvestigation and ask them for reinvestigation and re-inquiry. Or in some cases what we did, we try to bypass the law by telling that we are going for a fact-finding mission. So, this has put the executive on their feet, on the toes.
The Paris Principles don't require that every national human rights institution have a complaint handling function. It is, however, highly desirable. I must say, from my perspective, it's virtually necessary, it's virtually essential. Complaint handling is a necessary task because it provides a process for a remedy for those whose human rights are violated.
Look, I really do understand.
Until now, about in 3 years, we have about 7,000 complaints we have received a month, and most of the complaints are in relation with land confiscation and also malpractice of the local authorities.
За Монгол Улсын хүний эрхийн үндэсний комисс одоо сүүлийн жилүүдэд ялангуяа одоо сүүлийн 4 жилд гэхэд хүлээж авч байгаа өргөдгийн тоо 4 дахин нэмэгдсэн байна. За энэ юу харуулж байгаа нөхцөл зэрэг иргэд эрхээ мэдж яах гэж нэг талаас нь ойлгож болно. Эрхэн зөрчигдсөн тохиолдолд ханддаг байгууллага мэдж байна гэж ойлгож болно.
We get a fairly good number of complaints against the police, torture, improper investigation, illegal detention by the police, and we order compensation to the victim. And if there is serious dereliction of duty by the public servant, we direct that he should be either departmentally prosecuted or the criminal prosecution should be initiated against him.
To be effective, complaint handling must be accessible, and in particular, accessible to those who face the greatest difficulty, the most obstacles in making contact with public institutions and seeking their assistance.
та гэлээ үнэхээр Монгол улсын нутаг дэвсгэр хөргөн удам. Тийм ч учраас энэ оны 1 сарын 1-ээс эхлээд бүх аймагуудад хүний эрхийн үндэсний комиссийн ахлах мэргэжилтнийг оронтой бий болгож ажилд оруулсан. За энэ маань одоо их үр дүнтэй байгаа.
Because we're a national body and we can't just sort of sit in our enclave here in Pitt Street in Sydney and assume the world's going to come to us. That doesn't happen. So we've made every effort to ensure that we reach those with disabilities, that we can work with those who assist them, that we are culturally intelligent about what we do, and that we can travel as much as possible to conciliate disputes.
Well, it actually started with the girl giving birth and the mother and the stepfather colluding to kill the baby. During the investigation, they somehow asked the girl about the incident of her stepfather abusing her, and apparently she admitted that she had had sex with another man apart from her stepfather. When the case was heard before a judge, he asked her whether she had fornicated, and she said yes, she did it. And immediately she was sentenced to be flogged. And the case got a lot of media attention, both local and foreign. And we as a Human Rights Commission, we needed to intervene, be a friend of the court, to change this so that this does not happen to anyone else. I was actually given the opportunity to speak on her behalf at the High Court. And I appealed to the judges that this is enough. Now, please just make this right. And a few weeks later, they came out with the verdict that the juvenile court ruling should be overturned, and she was acquitted. This case was a success, yes, but what happened afterwards? Did she get redress? Did she get compensation from the government? Did she get her respect back within the society? Well, no. And that's what worries me today.